Well, joining us now, we're delighted, is Armen Sarkisyan. He's the president of Armenia. Mr. President, thank you so much for joining Bloomberg Surveillance. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, has invited parties today to try and find a ceasefire, a way forward with your foreign minister and, of course, the foreign minister on the other side. Are you confident that you will be able to reach a ceasefire?
Well, I cannot say I'm confident that we'll reach a ceasefire, because I think the two foreign ministers are going to Moscow and they're going to enter a sort of a dark room in order to start negotiating and talking about ceasefire. But I'm happy that this meeting is happening, and I'm thankful to the Russian Federation, President Putin, and Foreign Minister Lavrov organizing this meeting, because it's absolutely needed today to stop the shelling and to stop the fighting, because there are hundreds and hundreds of losses on both sides. There's a huge humanitarian crisis there, and the war is hitting civilians and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for those, which is the Minsk Group co-chairs, Russian government. And I hope they will get a ceasefire.
But, President, is Russia really the only power here that can broker an agreement? And, you know, do you need Russia's support? Have you spoken to President Putin?
Well, to make it clear, this is one of those conflicts that has a framework where it can take negotiators to the peace finally. This is the Minsk Group of OSCE, which was created more than 20 years after the first war of Nagorno-Karabakh was over, and sides were negotiating the peaceful outcome and the future status of Nagorno-Karabakh. But for this or that reason, Azerbaijan, on the 27th of September, decided that they will not go the path of peace or negotiations. They decided that they can solve it with arms and armaments. And of course, Turkey's involvement was very crucial here.
Yeah, but do you want Russia's support in this? And have you had any contacts with Vladimir Putin since the crisis began?
Well, we have regular contacts with Vladimir Putin, but on our side, on the Minsk platform, the negotiators are the prime minister and the foreign minister. On the Azeri side is the president and their foreign minister. So the person who is regularly in contact with President Putin is my prime minister, because he is in charge also the event on the Armenian side, not on the Nagorno-Karabakh side, because they have the president of their own. So Prime Minister is there, and I have my own regular contacts during my years of presidency with President Putin. But again, the platform is the Minsk Group.
Okay, you've accused Turkey of military involvement in support of Azerbaijan, something, President, that they deny. Do you have proof that this has happened? Have you showed proof to France and NATO allies, and what have you asked them to do?
Well, basically, I no longer need, neither me or my government or my ministers need to present proofs, because proofs are there. They are in the form of recognized announcement by the Azeri side, Azeri officials, videos, photos, computer sites, everything. And even foreign intelligence organizations or departments of several countries, including Russia, have reported the presence of terrorists, Islamic terrorists, on the territory of Azerbaijan that were brought there by Turkey. And the presence of Turkish military, Turkish drones, even F-16s that are used now in the battle as well.
But so what have you asked NATO allies to do in response to this? Have you asked them for a response?
Well, I've made it clear, and I have asked the NATO to look at this very carefully, because we have a situation where a member of NATO, an organization that has clear mandate what to do, a NATO member is taking part or getting involved in a conflict of third parties, which are not NATO members. And does Turkey have an authorization or a green light from NATO? And if yes, we should know that. If not, then I hope that our colleagues in NATO will make their voice heard and put pressure on Turkey that they should not get involved into this conflict, because their presence here is not helping at all. It's even complicating that dramatically.
President, Azerbaijan says it's fighting to regain its own internationally recognized territory and that 30 years of talks haven't actually yielded much. Why would they not be allowed to do that?
Well, they will not be allowed of killing peoples or starting a war? What's the question? And I'll try to answer in a different form. Well, you have negotiations, and negotiations in, let's say, more than 20 years have achieved a lot. They have achieved a lot in a form that the scope and the scale of questions that sides have to negotiate is huge, tremendous. During these 20 years, they have come to a couple of very important ones that needed political decision. So the work was done very hard. In the meantime, there were changes of negotiators on both sides. On Armenian side, there were 3 presidents before involved, and now the prime minister who is in charge of negotiating. So if you are a bit unhappy with negotiations, what do? You start a war, or you start continuing, because negotiating process with a complex story is a very, very tough job. And then what is the alternative? The alternative is death of people, basically destroying infrastructure and creating a big uncertainty in the whole region. So I don't think that we have exhausted all of the possibilities, and the time is to return back to negotiations. But in order to do that, I think one of the important steps is to make sure that Turkey is no longer involved there. It's just between Azerbaijan and the people of Nagorno-Karabakh and the Republic of Artsakh. Yes, please.
And President, the Prime Minister of Armenia said that it may consider the independence of Nagorno-Karabakh as a response to the conflict. Would that stop the fighting? And under what circumstances would that be done? Under what circumstances would you actually recognize independence?
Well, it forces me to take you back a little bit into history. First of all, Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh is a historic Armenia, part of historic Armenia, historic land, mountainous, beautiful region where Armenians used to live, and they still live for thousands of years. And the day they became Christian, or with all Armenians in the year 301, there are churches there, monuments, and so on and so forth. It was only for 70 years this region was given as an autonomous region under Azerbaijan. It was given by Comrade Stalin, so there was nothing. It was the divide and rule theory. And after the breakdown of Soviet Union, I'm coming to your question very quickly.
Okay.
After the breakdown of Soviet Union, the first war and 30 years of negotiations. So what is claiming the Azeri side is they want to free that territory. But freeing from whom? There are ethnic Armenians, 100% living there, so you are freeing from them. In my vocabulary, it's named, the word is ethnic cleansing. So we want the land without Armenians. In the case of Armenians, they are fighting for their life, for their heritage, for their religion, and for what they believe, and their houses, and their parents and children. So these are 2 different approaches to the same problem.
No, I understand, President, but my question was, would you consider independence? Or under no circumstances would you do that?
Yes. Let me give the answer here, and the answer is clear. So from the day one of the first war was over in and ceasefire was established in 1994, there was, of course, on the table the question, should Armenia and other states, and asking other states to recognize the independence of Republic of Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh. But the Armenian side, taking into account that there is a negotiating process, the Minsk group with the 3 great co-chairs, we restrained ourselves, giving a chance for negotiations to come to a final conclusion on the status of Nagorno-Karabakh. But if this war continues, probably Armenia will not be left with any other choice rather than recognize the independence of Nagorno-Karabakh and ask the world community, international community, to recognize as well.
All right. President, thank you so much for your time today. Armen Sarkisyan there, the president of Armenia.